Hello, beautiful people of the world. Adrienne here, aka Ace. Hey, today I want to talk about the long layered haircut. But before we do that, we're going to talk about how to have a great consultation with your clients, because really that is laying the foundation for a great service and for that person to ultimately return to you as a client. So here's some of my tips that I would like to share with you. What I like to do most importantly is I will face the client towards the mirror so that they can see themselves and that they can describe to me what it is that they want by showing me with their hands. So I face them towards the mirror and then I look at them and I have a comb ready so that we can go through their hair together. I like to show them pictures of lengths of bangs, different lengths of the sides and the back and things like that, so that we get a really direct picture about what it is that they are trying to achieve. And then we can explain to them if that isn't the best haircut for their face shape, then it's better to communicate these things in the beginning so that we don't have any miscommunications. So once she has talked to me about how she feels and I ask her what kinds of things does she do with her hair on a daily basis. Does she like to dry it? Does she flat iron it? Does she curl it? Does she like to go, several days without washing? These different things will help you kind of get an idea if the style that she's picking is a good one for her. And she wants your opinion. We are the professional. We have to be able to ask the right questions to get the information out of this client. Once they have done that, then I like to go behind them so that they're still looking in the mirror. And I like to actually feel through their hair and brush through their hair, with a brush. Get them relaxed, set the tone. We're also just kind of looking at their hair texture. We want to find out, we have to work here. And if they've told us that they only want a tiny bit, their ends seem really dry, we want to talk to them about that. I recommend never cutting off someone's hair if they don't want you to. It's just not worth it. They're probably not going to return to you. So if you just tell them, hey, it's kind of dry, but I will still only cut off what you want, and then you can kind of go from there. You can talk about conditioning treatments. I'm going to put a link to my shampoo technique video that you should definitely check out, because that is something you could recommend to your long hair clients that will keep their hair healthy and keep them from having to cut off so much. So once we've established and agree on what we'd like to do for her, we're gonna take her on back to the shampoo bowl and give her a great massage. So please check that video out and I'll be right back. Welcome back. We've just returned from shampooing my lovely assistant's hair. Thank you for lending your services, dear. So here's what I like. I really like using these bigger combs. These are my favorite of any form. And I'll tell you lots of reasons why as we go through this. The other thing is, if the hair starts to dry out, find yourself a nice spray bottle that sprays in a very mist way, so that when you are spraying them, you're not soaking them. You're not soaking their face. It's not dripping down their face and things like that. That way, if this dries out as we're going, we can just kind of keep it moist. I really prefer having someone's hair freshly shampooed before I cut it. And I like having a little bit of conditioner in my spray bottle to kind of keep it from drying out. And it just really, it makes a nice haircut. It's one of my favorite things to do. So she's freshly shampooed. Let's just comb her out. We need to tighten her neck up here. We're gonna comb this out. And what I like to do is I'll, even though she's gonna have some layers, I like to part down the middle for balance. So we're gonna do that on everyone, no matter if we had bangs, what kind of layering we have, if it's all one length. I like to start out in the middle so that it's proportioned and it's balanced, and then we can go in and make bangs and side layers and that kind of thing. So check it, so that it lines up with the nose here. And I like to look in the mirror while I'm doing that for someone. Make sure we get it even. Let's just comb her all nice. And then I'm gonna turn her back around so you guys can see the back, what I like to do with that. Okay, so I'm really not a huge fan of shears. If you like using them, more power to you. The few times that I will use this is on maybe like a 1-length bob. I will use these in bevel, and I'll show you that haircut in the future as well. Or, you know, let's say she's got these really frayed ends and she doesn't want a lot off. And, or you know, I just don't want to make it very blunt, but yet she needs to thicken this up a little bit, and I don't really want to cut it with the razor to make it too wispy. So I may go in there and point cut. I will do that quite a bit. We'll point cut it. So let's just do that now. But normally I really do prefer to use a razor. Razors are my favorite because you can change these blades as often as you want. I find I change them every couple haircuts, and this guard is wonderful because you're not going to cut your finger. And you're gonna get a really nice soft blended haircut. So here's what we do. This is my biggest, most number one thing that I'd like to share with you is tilt their head down so that you have a nice flat surface to work with on their back. It just makes the weight of the hair distribute evenly. So we're gonna keep her head tilted down. I will point cut this right now, but I'll do the rest of it with the razor. So what I like to do, and I would raise this up. If this was a chair, I would raise this up. I'm gonna keep it at this length so that my arms aren't going out of the camera when I do her layers. For you guys, so you guys can see good. But if I was point cutting this, I want to so that my arm's reflecting the angle that I'm going in at. And you really don't want to have your wrist bent like this. You want to have it like this. This is a neutral position. And I'll go in here, and I don't usually cut past this knuckle, this second knuckle right here. And I'll just go in and kind of create a nice soft edge with my shears. Just going to right behind the ear, the hair that's right behind the ear. We'll just go that far for the back. You guys probably can't see this in this direction, but that's okay. Keeping our hand in a neutral position. Just getting a nice point cut in there, see? So we're kind of keeping a soft edge to the bottom, but the scissors are helping it have just a little bit of thickness. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And I'm hunching over a little. I wouldn't want to do this normally if I had a chair that I could raise my client. I wouldn't want to be bending over. I'd want to preserve my back. So then I'm going to check it visually to see that it looks proportioned. And I do see a long piece. So I'll get that, snip that on out of there. It looks proportioned to me. Then I'll have her look straight ahead in the mirror. And also, I'd like to say, I really think that clients prefer if you keep them looking towards the mirror or facing the mirror during the entire haircut. I think they really appreciate, it makes them feel more a part of the conversation that you're having. It makes them feel like what you're giving them isn't gonna be such a surprise. They won't be as shocked. So then when we work on the sides, I actually like to kind of go around this way first. I will actually tilt her over to the side like this. So I'm creating another flat surface here. And then I'll just connect that, you know, and you can kind of use your comb as a pivoting ruler to say, okay, this is where this angle is going. So you can kind of visually keep yourself in check. Keep her chin up, keep her head straight, keep her head tilted back. And then I'll just point cut that out, keeping the same angle, because you can add layers into the sides here in a minute. just like this. I like doing point cutting for extremely curly hair too. I find some of my curly hair clients really like it. So let's check that for balance. That looks pretty good. And then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. I tilt her over to create a flat surface. Kind of eyeball it with my comb where that's going so that I've got the right angle going on here. These are just basic haircuts. There are always variations to all of these styles, so remember that. I'm just showing you the basics, and you can vary these and get crazy and wild as much as you want. But this, having the foundation definitely helps with the creativity. And then I just match that up with the front there. And then what I like to do is have her look in the mirror, and I'll stand behind her and I will visually check it going this way, looking into the mirror, and I'll feel it with my hands and see that it feels even. I'll stand in front of her, making sure her head is straight, and check that, check how that looks. See if that looks even from side to side, because if it's not, that's your opportunity right then and there to fix it. You don't want them going home finding out that one side's longer than the other. We're building trust in our chair with these people, with our clients, these beautiful people. So we want to check what we're doing. Okay, then the next thing, and I would keep her facing towards the mirror, but I'm going to turn her so you guys can see what I am doing here. Then, let's just say she wants all one length. She doesn't want any layers at all at this point. She doesn't have any, you just trim the ends. Then I like to take kind of you could just take a triangle at the crown if you want. For the sake of not missing any pieces whatsoever, I usually kind of grab this whole top section if it's long hair. If it's shorter hair, you don't really need to grab this much, but I like to do this, and I'll show you why. This is going to distribute the weight of the hair, because the hair at her crown right here has this amount of hair has the farthest to travel. So sometimes the weight is distributed unevenly when it's all one length, when there's no layers. So what we'll do is, I like taking these big sections because I just don't want to miss anything. We'll take this straight up, and this is why I like having freshly conditioned hair, a spray bottle with conditioner in it, so that we're not wasting a lot of time combing. This is a great mannequin, by the way. I opted for medium priced, inexpensive, since I am going to be cutting all of her hair off. And I really love the texture of her hair. So if anyone's interested, comment below, and I'll shoot you a link if you like this mannequin. See, now I'm just looking for these stray top pieces. I can see where the back is right here, and I can see where the front is right here. You don't want to cut into those. And it's okay if hair drops out. That's great. That's what we want. We just barely want to nip those off. This is assuming you're doing a haircut with no layers whatsoever. Just a little bit. You don't want to take a lot off. You don't want to cut into the interior. We just want this to lay nice and lay evenly and lay smooth, no matter which way she flips it, no matter what she does to it. So in our consultation, she expressed that she does want some long layering. So I'm going to show you that now using a razor. I'm going to part it down the middle. Again, I like to kind of eyeball it in the mirror, match it up with her nose from behind, so I know it's balanced. She's expressed to me in our consultation that she doesn't want to have any bangs at this point. We'll demonstrate that as we go in to this a little more. So I'm gonna get out my razor. And we're going to talk about the front hair. This mannequin seems to like to go to one side. But I want a piece, a little tiny piece from each side of the very front. Just a small piece as a guide, not too big because you'll make kind of a shelf if you get too big of a piece. I would much prefer to do this on live models. Okay, so really not a thick piece. You can see that. I would tuck this behind her ears. We're gonna keep her layers. She wants them really long. She wants them around shoulder length. So we always want to account for the fact that her hair is gonna shrink when it dries. And if she has any kind of curl or if it's really coarse, it may shrink a lot. So err on the side of long just to keep them happy. That way if it shrinks, you know, and it's not enough off, well, hey, you can always trim more off. You just can't put it back. So she wants to keep her layers long. We're just gonna go in here and do a little trim. Now I have a piece for each side that I can use. And I'm gonna cut what we call downhill, which means this way. And I'm gonna use that little guide that I can see, and I'm gonna eyeball it with my comb so that I can see what kind of angle I want to use. I don't want to take a lot out, so I'm going to use this comb as a pivoting ruler to say, this reflects the angle that I want to use. And then I'll go in here and just really lightly feather that down, really soft with my razor. The key to a great razor cut is a sharp blade. That is bottom line. And I find that these haircuts, people are really happy with them because first of all, they're very blended right off the bat. There's no waiting for it to soften up or anything like you do when you do a scissor haircut. You sort of have to wait for the hair to soften back up. And sometimes it's just choppy right at first and people don't really care for that. So, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I've got my piece that I can see right there, and I'm just eyeballing that I want this angle to be kind of over here. You know, keeping her head straight and looking into the mirror. Anytime you want them to move their head, just, you know, show them and tell them. Move their head with your hands very gently and tell them, hey, tilt your head to the side, please. Or, you know, tell them what you want to do. It's not their job to know where to keep their head. That's your job. So, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll look in the mirror and visually check like I did earlier, just to feel that these sides feel consecutive with each other. And then I'll look at it as well to see that it looks even, that the layers all look even. And it looks good to me, so she doesn't want any base. And she's drying out at this point, so I would really stop and take that time to just spray her down with your spray bottle of conditioner. And just tiny little tip about that. When you very first put maybe like a tablespoon of conditioner in your spray bottle, fill it up with hot water. It helps it dissolve a little better. Shake it up. Then it'll stay dissolved. It'll stay, you know, it won't separate again and be clumpy or anything. But I want to keep her all the way wet. I just find it makes a really nice haircut. Sometimes you'll get someone that just absolutely knows that they want their haircut dry. And if they want it that way, that's fine, but you don't want it to be partially dry in places. You want to keep it wet. Because the hair shrinks when it dries, right? And it stretches when it's wet. So that can compromise your haircut and it just won't look as nice. I strive to give people options so that if they have a day when they don't flat iron it, curl it, blow dry it, whatever they're doing, that they can just kind of wear it in a messy look and it doesn't look like what the heck happened to your hair? Who cut your hair? Messy look, fine. Choppy haircut, no. Okay. So we got that going on. Now to create our layers, we take a small section from each side of the middle part here. Nothing too wide because we don't want to create a shelf. We just want a small guide to go with. I'm making sure I'm not even down the middle. Just to about the crown area, right there. And this is where you can over direct it any way you want. Just think about where the weight is going to fall. So if you over direct it this way, you're going to take more weight out of the front, making the front a little thinner. If that's what you want, great. If you over direct it this way, you're going to take some weight out of the back and you might make, kind of like some fullness here. But I like to take this crown piece and just sort of gauge where I want that to fall. Eyeball it, back here. Pull it back up here and say, okay, that gives me a general idea. Lost my section. Get that back up there. And when we demonstrate our short haircuts, I'll talk to you about that crown area. It's really important. Always want to make sure you can see that front guide because you don't want to cut into that. That would make the front uneven. It would make your layers uneven. She doesn't want a lot of layers. Now I'm almost potato peeling I'm going to use my thumb to kind of feed the hair in and just really lightly. You can really control how much you're taking out, the texture that you're leaving it. You can really do that with a razor, and that's why I love a razor so much. Because I could make this as wispy as I wanted it to be depending on the hair. So if I have someone who has extremely thick, coarse hair, more than likely if they have long hair, they may not want a lot of layers because that might make their hair just shrink too much and get big. And they might say, hey, thin my hair, would you please? And you know what I found about thinning is I don't prefer to do it with the thinning shears, these little guys. I prefer not to use these notched teeth scissors, shears, because what happens is the shorter hairs that you cut underneath, they create volume and support those longer hairs, and it makes your hair seem so much bushier. So with people that have extremely long, or excuse me, not long, but coarse, thick hair, I find it's better to just leave them some really long layers and just make the ends really wispy with your razor. As long as your razor is sharp, you're not going to be roughing up their ends at all. Their ends are still going to be beautiful. So now I have a front guide, I have a bottom guide, I have a top guide. I'm parting her back down the middle because she doesn't want any bangs, and I would do this anyway even if she did want bangs. Or I could go ahead and cut the bangs now and then add the layers. We'll talk about that. But we're working with a round head here, not a square head. So we're gonna take these diagonal partings that are small, like this. Comb up everything. And this is where you can over direct it. Think about where your weight's gonna be. If you wanna leave a lot of weight at the bottom, over direct it this way. Then that's what I'm gonna do. So I can see my top guide right there. And this isn't gonna take a lot off, and that's totally fine because it's right in the front. I don't wanna take a lot off the front. But I kind of want to reflect, I want my arms to reflect that angle that I'm cutting it at. And then I'm gonna split that in half, use that in my next diagonal parting, that way. And I'm just kind of keeping my comb parallel to that part so that I'm creating balance. I'm not taking a lot off because I have a lot of haircuts to do on this mannequin to show you guys. I'm so excited. I can't wait to show you guys. My guard just totally fell off, which is fine because it actually it wasn't cutting her hair that great. Sometimes you will, the hairs at the end will just be too thin and you'll have to point cut it, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. It'll kind of thicken it up a bit anyway. But see how I knew right where I was because of the way I parted it? When I let go of it, I come back. If I had to go answer the phone or anything like that, I know exactly where I was because of the way I parted it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and point cut these because they didn't want to cut off great with the razor. Always okay to do. I really don't like cutting blunt across. I hardly ever do that. So I'm gonna get this out of the way, do another diagonal parting. Same thing, I'm gonna do this all the way around the head. Comb up all the hair evenly. Making sure I can see both of my guides. And I love this because when I used to do a lot of blunt cuts, 15 years ago, I used to cut myself all the time, and it was really embarrassing because I'd have to stop, go get a Band-Aid. I wouldn't stop bleeding. The Band-Aid wouldn't stay on because my fingers were wet. I'd cut the Band-Aid and I just wasted so much time, and I didn't keep it moving with that client. I broke contact with them basically, and it was, just awkward. So I love point cutting and I love razor cutting also for that reason, that I don't cut myself anymore. I feel more like a professional, not an amateur. So then when I get to the back, I'll have her tilt her head down, and I'm still gonna have diagonal partings here. Keeping my diagonal partings with my round head. And I'll tell you what, cutting this way, I can always tell if I was the last person to cut that person's hair or if someone else cut it. I can tell. I can tell my own haircuts very much. But you build such a trusting relationship with people that they get to the point where they don't want to go to anyone else because they trust you, because you won't cut their hair off if they don't want you to. You don't take off more than you said you were going to because you're able to keep it even, because you're using your comb as a ruler and you're having, you've got this good geometry in your mind going on. You don't lose where you are if you have to walk away, that kind of thing. And their haircuts last them a really long time, which your clients like that, They like to be able to go a while without a haircut and their hair feel healthy and nice and lay good. And then they'll trust you more. So going all the way around the head. So if someone's hair is really damaged and they don't want to cut it off, be nice about it. I mean, hey, just tell them it's not going to get repaired. There's no way to repair it. There's no way to keep it from getting worse. And then honor their wishes. Show them physically. If they say they only want a 1/2 inch off, you have a comb that has a ruler on it. They have those, they're great. And show them. This is how much a 1/2 inch is. And that way there's no miscommunication. You'd be surprised how many people think a 1/2 inch is a lot less than what it really is, or vice versa. And you don't want to have miscommunications in there thinking that you took an inch off their hair when you didn't. Or even for your own self, maybe you did take an inch off and they didn't want you to. So it's good to have a ruler and physically show them. So you want this much off? They're more likely to trust you that way. This is the look that they have to live with, not you. So it's important. It's important to them. They have to wear this to work. They have to wear this in front of their spouse on a date for pictures. They want to look good. They want to feel good. So now that I'm getting to the side, I'm going to tilt her head back up. And I'm still doing my diagonal partings all the way. She's drying out a little. I'm gonna spray her. I don't want it to dry out. And you know, I don't like using clips or sectioning off with clips or anything because I really just want to kind of keep the momentum going. I think that our clients, they really want us to focus on them, and they come to us for conversation. They like to sit down and talk, and they like the way it feels if you're just continuously combing and brushing and you're not like pinning stuff up, and if they just feel like they can totally trust themselves in your hands because you aren't having to stop what you're doing to clip something up or take that clip out or whatever. And you know what? If you really like using clips, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, for me personally, I feel like it keeps me from being distracted. And then I'm just, you know, I'm keeping that momentum going with this haircut. And I think it just feels soothing to them. I think they like it. I like it. I personally like it. That's me. But hey, if you have a method that you like, well, great. Nothing wrong with that. Just do what you like to do. I'm just sharing my tips with you. These are my tricks. Anything that you'd like to add, feel free to put that in the comment box. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I love learning from other people. There's always so much to be learned from everyone in the world. And I bet you guys have great things that you could share too with all of us in my comment box. So please do that. I'd love it. Okay, we're getting towards the front here. I want to make sure that I don't cut into the front. That piece dropped out. Great. We want it to drop out. I don't want it to be too thin. If I wanted it to be too thin, well, hey, you know, I'd over direct that a little more this way. If I wanted it to be thinner. There's nothing to take off on that last piece, and that's great. And then what I like to do is stop before I style it, and I like to let her feel through it, see if that length feels pretty good, letting her know that it is gonna shrink some when it dries, between a ½ inch and an inch. Just depends on the curl. It could be more than that too. And most people, if their hair shrinks a lot, they'll tell you themselves first, hey, my hair shrinks a lot. So now I would style it for her. I'm not gonna do that on camera because there's, you know, we all know how to style. We can do that, that's great. And then after I'm done styling her hair, I like to physically show her with a mirror, making sure that she is facing the mirror, looking in the mirror, and let her look at it. And then I turn her around so that her back is to the mirror. Let's just pretend that the mirror's back here. Her back's to the mirror, and I hand her a hand mirror that she uses, and I help her find it so that she can see the back of her head in the big mirror really well, and she can see it, and then turn her so she can see the side of it. I think that they really appreciate it when you show them every angle before they leave, and let them run their hands through it. Let them do what they'd like to do with it. Okay guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This was great. I'm gonna show you some more haircuts soon, so please subscribe to my channel and see what's coming up. Thanks guys, hope you have a wonderful day. This is a fantastic journey. Let's keep going.